We're a bit further away from Downing Street than we usually are, so you're going to have to be a bit louder so Keir Starmer can hear you. Make some noise! We've still got thousands of people on the march coming down Kingsway and Aldwych and the Strand, so there's still people arriving, but we're going to get going in a few minutes. My name is Alex Kenny. I'm the chair of the Stop the War Coalition. I'm one of the MCs today. Stop the War is one of 6 organisations that have come together in the last 2 years to organise and coordinate campaigning against the genocide in Gaza. This is the 30th national demonstration that we've organised. And the numbers on each of those demonstrations has been huge and has defied expectations, has exceeded expectations and defied those people who thought we would go away, who thought they could silence us, who thought they could put restrictions on our way and demobilise us and dispirit us. Has that worked? No, because once again, we're out in our tens and hundreds of thousands to call for a ceasefire, to call for an end to the ethnic cleansing of Gaza, and to call for an end to the starvation in Gaza. Just think, we have now reached 100 weeks since Israel started its war, this current war on Gaza. That is 100 weeks of genocide, 100 weeks of ethnic cleansing, 100 weeks of destruction, and 100 weeks of starvation being used as a weapon of war. And in that time, whilst our politicians have wrung their hands and uttered weasel words or even looked the other way, we have built a mass movement that is growing, a mass movement that is growing in numbers and growing in determination to make sure we see justice for the Palestinian people and an end to the current bloodshed. Just think, in 100 weeks, we have brought hundreds of thousands of people out onto the streets 30 times. That's a national demonstration every 3 to 4 weeks. And add to that all the local activities that have been going on, all the protests outside arms factories, outside arms manufacturers, outside banks, all the street protests that have been going on and the local protests. They add to what our national demonstrations do. And I think it's a determination that we will not be going away. We will not, whatever the personnel changes we see in government, we hold this government to account for complicity in their genocide and not doing, instead of doing everything they can to bring about a ceasefire, they do everything they can to try and stop us marching, to try and stop us protesting. It's going to be a busy few weeks for the coalition. On the screen to my right, to your left, I hope you can see a calendar of events, or you should at some point this afternoon, you should be able to see a calendar of events that will be taking place, and we'll be going through them with you in the course of the afternoon. So we're going to get going in a few minutes with our first speakers, but first of all, let's have a bit of chanting. Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! From the river to the sea! From the river to the sea! From the river to the sea! In our thousands, in our millions! In our thousands, in our millions! In our thousands, in our millions! And my favourite one, do it for me. 1, 2, we won't be silenced. 3, stop the bombing now, 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 now. Thank you very much. Make some noise, make some noise. Lift your banners, make some noise. And I'm absolutely delighted to welcome to the stage an MP a crusading MP, not just on Palestine, but on a whole range of issues. She's been with us on all the marches and she's spoken at many of them. She speaks up wherever she can, including in Parliament. Please welcome Afsana Begum, MP for Poplar and Limehouse.
Thank you, Alex. It is now the 30th time. The 30th time over years that we have stood together at protests condemning Israel's oppression and crimes against humanity inflicted on the Palestinian people. Today, I stand here with you again because, like you, I know we must never ever stop speaking truth to power, even as repression against dissent continues to escalate, even as we see the ongoing crackdowns on the right to protest, including the elderly and the disabled. Protests empower communities to confront injustice, and that is exactly why we are seeing them and witnessing the brutal crackdowns that we see. History reminds us of the vital role of protest in driving change, and that is why undemocratic forces seek to evade accountability. The truth is this: the UK, the US, and the EU are continuing to pursue foreign policy interests with callous indifference to Palestinian lives. Now, beyond the political theatrics, including this week, the hypocrisy is laid bare. Censorship, complicity, and UK-made arms slaughtering civilians, the majority of whom remain women and children. The continuing rolling out of the carpet and welcoming those complicit and enabling these atrocities instead of arresting them for war crimes. Just this month, the UN-backed IPC confirmed a man-made famine in Gaza. It confirms that Palestinians are not just starving, they are being starved. Aid is not just being held up, it is being blocked by the state of Israel as a means of collective punishment. Shame on those who have stood by and allowed this to happen. Shame on those who have been complicit and who have remained silent. That's why we continue to say, stop starving Gaza! Stop starving Gaza! Stop starving Gaza! Stop starving Gaza! Stop arming Israel! Stop arming Israel! There is no doubt about it that the UK's reputation and standing on human rights is being eroded all around the world. But we will never ever stop speaking out as a movement. We will never ever stop asking whether UK-made weapons are still being used to kill hungry people standing at HQs. We will never ever stop speaking out against arms or technologies sent to Israel to kill children or to bomb refugee camps. We will keep standing up for what we know to be right. And we will never ever stop opposing the genocide. Solidarity.
Thank you so much, Afsana. Thanks for all you continue to do in Parliament, speaking out in support of the Palestinian people. Our next speaker is another MP who has consistently spoken out about the attacks on Gaza and in support of the Palestinian people. Her name is Kim Johnson. She's the MP for Liverpool Riverside. Please welcome her.
Good afternoon, comrades. I bring solidarity and support from the great city of Liverpool. And I just wanted to say thank you continuing to come out on the streets in your thousands to make your voices heard about what's going on in Gaza. It is a genocide. 2.5 years ago, I was made to make an apology by the Labour government, Labour Party, because of what I said about Amnesty International stating that Palestine was living under an apartheid regime. Well, I stand here today and I will tell you, I make no apology when I say it is apartheid. It needs to end, and this government needs to recognise and do something about it. Comrades, Herzog is meant to be here next Thursday, meeting with ministers. I tried to find out whether that's true or not. I've received radio silence, which suggests to me it's happening. And so what I say to you is that's not diplomacy. It's a fucking disgrace. And this government needs to do something about it. So, comrades, my speech is short and sweet. And I said, free, 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 free. Solidarity, comrades, continue fighting and challenging. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Kim. It's great to have MPs ready to speak up despite the attacks they face. I've got a new chant for us, first outing today. Yvette Cooper, you can't hide! We charge you with genocide! Yvette Cooper, you can't hide! We charge you with genocide! Our next speaker, we have watched in horror on our TV screens the scenes from hospitals that are being bombed by the Israeli forces, the horrific injuries on children who are sometimes victim of roulette played by Russian soldiers, where on one day they go for one part of the body and another day they might go for another part of the body. I'm really delighted to introduce our next speaker, someone who has seen at first hand what that looks like. British surgeon Nick Maynard has served repeatedly in Gaza and has been on our TV screens detailing the horrors of the injuries inflicted on Palestinian children. Please lift your banners and make some noise for Nick Maynard.
Thank you very much. I returned from Gaza 5 weeks ago. I saw malnutrition that I did not believe was possible. Every day I saw people dying of malnutrition, babies, children, adults, because of the forced starvation by the Israeli blockade. Let me tell you about little Zainab, a 7-month-old girl I saw every day for the first 2 weeks I was there. She was starving. She looked like a newborn. There was no formula feed in Nasser Hospital, no formula feed to feed her. Her mother was so malnourished that she couldn't produce any breast milk. Zainab died 2 weeks after I got there. And while she was dying, doctors every day were being searched at the border as they tried to bring in formula feed. And the Israeli border guards took every single bottle of formula feed from their luggage. That formula feed could have saved her life. Let me tell you about the obscenely named Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, the food distribution points. Virtually every day I was in Gaza, every day I was in Nasser Hospital, I had to operate on young teenage boys who had been shot by Israeli soldiers at these GHF food distribution points. On my second day, a 12-year-old boy died on the operating table. We couldn't save his life because he'd been so damaged. Not only were they shooting these young boys, They were specifically targeting specific body parts on different days. So one day, there were 19 young teenage boys brought in, all of whom had been shot in the head and neck. The next day, they were shot in the chest. The next day, the abdomen. The next day, the legs. On one day, we saw 4 young teenage boys, all of whom had been shot in the testicles. This pattern, this clustering of injuries, could not conceivably have happened coincidentally. They were victims of target practice by the Israeli soldiers. Let me tell you about Habiba, a beautiful 11-year-old girl. I spent the whole night operating on her when she had a bad chest injury from a bomb. She died 4 weeks later because we couldn't feed her, because we had no nutrition to give her. She would have survived otherwise. And she was bombed from a bomb that came from an F-35 jet, an F-35 aeroplane supplied with parts by our government. The same jets that bombed NASA Hospital 2 weeks ago, when they bombed the intensive care unit, the operating theatre complex, and they killed 2 medical students who were at the bedside of intensive care trying to learn during this massive military assault. 2 medical students whom I had been teaching 4 weeks previously. It is unconscionable that our government still provides parts for the F-35 jets. It's unconscionable that they still send reconnaissance flights every day over Gaza, providing military intelligence so they can bomb NASA Hospital 2 weeks ago. Gaza has been failed by our government. It's been failed by our media. And our media, the BBC, need to decide, do they believe the Israeli propaganda for which there has been no verifiable or credible evidence, or do they believe the multiple eyewitness testimonies from healthcare workers like me, who every day have seen war crimes? Every day I have seen evidence of genocide. This has to stop. Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Thank you very much.
Let's hear it again for Nick and his powerful words. Thank you so much, Nick. And we salute you and your colleagues for the work that you do on the front line in Gaza. Colleagues, as we protest today against Israeli apartheid and the racist nature of the Israeli regime, I'm sure we're all alarmed at what we've witnessed in our own country in recent weeks. Protests and harassment against asylum seekers and refugees right outside the places they are being housed in. Mosques have been vandalized, and we've even seen attacks on Palestine protests and Palestine stalls in different towns around the country. A constant drip of a racist narrative blaming foreigners and migrants for the failings of our government. And much of this is disgracefully being fueled by our own government ministers, including Keir Starmer, who talks of us being an island of strangers. I look out here today and I say, this is no island of strangers. Next week, on Saturday the 13th of September, the far-right Islamophobe Tommy Robinson is bringing these people to the streets of London for a march and a rally right where we're standing today. There is a line between Steve Bannon, Tommy Robinson and Ben Gvir, who are all enthusiastic champions of Islamophobia and enthusiastic champions of the genocide we're protesting against. So it's vital next week that we come together again to counter protest the racism that will be on display and show that we represent the majority and that the racists will not win. You may have been given a leaflet on the march today for the counter-protests being organised by Stand Up to Racism, and I urge you to attend in the same numbers as we've got here today. It will be safe and it will be well stewarded, but it's so important that we are there to counter the racism that will be there, and that we say no to racism, no to Islamophobia, and no to scapegoating of migrants. I'm really delighted to introduce our next speaker, who's been a champion for peace and convener of the Stop the War Coalition. It's a shame that the Stop the War Coalition still has to be going 25 years after it was formed in opposition to the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. But Lindsay has been a constant voice, a constant protester against the wars that our government's been involved in. Please welcome Lindsay German from Stop the War Coalition.
Thank you very much. It's extremely hard to follow the previous speaker. It's extremely hard to listen to what is happening to the children of Gaza. The starvation, the ethnic cleansing, all of the things that we read about. But when you hear people giving witness to it, it makes it even more painful to know that this is going on. So I'd like to ask a question today. What is it that this government doesn't get about the genocide in Gaza? What is it? What is it that this government does that it thinks it's okay for the Israeli President Herzog to be visiting London and to be meeting ministers this Thursday in exactly this area? This man is complicit in genocide and he should not be allowed in the country. And if he is, he should be arrested for war crimes. There is nothing else to do with him. And what does it take for a Labour government that's supposed to care about human beings, to be so brutal in its support of Israel as it's continued to do? We have got rid of David Lammy. He's gone from the Foreign Office. But who have we got instead? Yvette Cooper. The woman who wants to drape herself in the Union Jack and the English flag. The woman who is targeting asylum seekers in the most racist way. And the woman who has banned our protests time and time again. She is the woman who has put the prescription on Palestine action. What a disgrace that is. It is not terrorism to protest about the genocide in Gaza. And why is it? Why is it you can paint red paint for an English flag all over roundabouts, but you can't put it on fighter jets in an RAF base? Is that terrorism? And is the other thing not terrorism? This is a complete double standard. She is trying to repress our movement. Our leaders have been arrested and charged and are going to court next year. People are being arrested today down in Parliament Square for daring to say that they support an organisation which supposedly is a terrorist organisation but is nothing of the sort. And isn't it amazing? We're not allowed to go anywhere near a synagogue when we march. We have never targeted a synagogue. We have never targeted Jewish people. We have never wanted to demonstrate outside a synagogue. And we have always respected the right to worship of Jewish people. But isn't it incredible? We can't go anywhere near, but the fascists and racists can go right up to the asylum hotels, which are targeting women and children, the people they're supposed to be protesting. They criminalise us because they fear us. They know Israel is isolated. They know there's flotillas going to Gaza now from across Europe. They know there are demonstrations across the world. They know that BDS is working. They know all these things. That's why they're trying to silence our voices, and we will not be silenced. Just one final point I want to make. The racism and fascism is about Islamophobia. We have to be aware that those who target our demonstrations also want to target Muslims. That is why those of us who support the right of Palestine to have its own national liberation should also oppose this racism and fascism which is growing in this country. So let's support the demonstrations. Let's be out next week. Let's be out next week against Herzog when he arrives on Thursday. Let's be out against the fascist Tommy Robinson on Saturday. And let's be out against Donald Trump, the biggest racist of them all, the most influential racist of them all, when he's here in London. Solidarity to everybody. Free Palestine. Keep going and we will win.
Thanks.